And David Stearns deserves some of the blame, and I'm not going to go into full slam David Stearns mode because I've done that several times on this program over the course of the season. But when you have a trade deadline and most of what you traded for doesn't pan out, you look like an inept president of baseball operations. You look like an inept GM, and we're going to talk about it. And I know I've beaten this horse before. For those of you who follow us on YouTube, I appreciate the subscribe. I've talked ad nauseum about Ryan Helsley and his performance since he's been a New York Met. But we're going to go through it again. Ryan Helsley, since he's been here, 0-3 with an ERA of 11.08, which since our last episode 2 weeks ago, his ERA was 10.36. So it's only gone up. In 16 appearances, Helsley's given up 16 runs, including 4 home runs. Opposing hitters are batting .355 off of Helsley since he's been on the Mets. So you have a guy here. Now let's look at his St. Louis numbers. He was 3-1 in 36 appearances, ERA of 3, 5 blown saves, 21 of 26. Now, granted, he's not the closer here in New York, but 0 for 4 in save opportunities. The entire tenure in St. Louis this season for Helsley, mind you, he played 20 more games as a Cardinal this season. Gave up 4 homers. 20 less appearances as a Met, gives up the same amount of home runs. And this is a guy, he comes out in Citi Field, he gets an entrance. Fire shoots out of the bullpen. The lights go out. We get a light show. We get flame graphics. I've said it before. Granted, Helsley was acquired for next to nothing because he's an expiring contract after the end of the season. So if he walks, no harm, no foul, because the Mets didn't give up much to get him. That is what that is. Then we go to Tyler Rogers. Tyler Rogers, since joining the Mets. Now, mind you, the Mets gave up Blade Tidwell, Jose Butto, and Drew Gilbert to get Tyler Rogers. Since becoming a Met, Tyler Rogers, the ERA is still good. They acquired him at 4-3 with a 1.80 ERA. That's what he put up in San Francisco the beginning of the season. This season with the Mets, since he's been a Met, Rogers 0-2, 1.86 ERA. He does have 8 holds. 19 1/3 innings in 19 appearances. He's given up no home runs. Only allowed 4 runs. 21 hits, a bit high, but only 4 runs allowed. He's only walked 1 batter in those 19 innings, and he struck out 8. However, opposing hitters hitting .280 off of him. Gives up a lot of base hits, but works himself out of trouble. I got mixed feelings on Rogers, only because this seems like a real fleecing by Buster Posey. Rogers, another expiring contract at the end of this season. Rumor has it he's going to go back to San Francisco. So not only did Buster Posey get Jose Butto, who, since he's been a Giant, has had an ERA slightly over 2. You got Drew Gilbert hitting over 260, leading the charge as the Giants have suddenly woken up. 1.5 games out of the last wild card spot, tied with the Reds. And Blade Tidwell is having a heck of a bounce back in the Giants AAA team, the Sacramento River Cats, who, by the way, play in the same ballpark in Sacramento that the Athletics do. If Rogers ends up not staying with the Mets long term, and in the offseason I hear he signs with the Giants again, I'm going to bravo, Mr. Posey, bravo. Because you fleeced David Stearns, who I think is an idiot, by the way. But you have fleeced an idiot. Listen, get by however you can. Imagine that. You get to keep Buto. You get to keep Drew Gilbert, guys under team control. You get to keep Tidwell if he turns around. And you get Rogers back with his below 2 ERA. He took care of the league idiot. But Rogers seems to be the best acquisition so far. Let's look at Gregory Soto now. Gregory Soto at the deadline, one of 2 trade deadline deals the Mets did with the Baltimore Orioles this season. And dare I say, this was the better one out of the 2, and we'll get to the second one in a second. But Gregory Soto this season as a Met, which is crazy because Gregory Soto was dealt at the deadline 2 seasons in a row. Last season, he started as a Philly, ended the year as an Oriole, started on a playoff team, ended on a playoff team. Not bad. This year with the Mets, Soto, 1-3, 3.78 ERA. Well, in Baltimore, he was 0-2 with a 3.96. So, still 2 games below. Still 2 games more with a loss than a win. That hasn't changed. ERA is basically the same. As a Met, in 16 2/3 innings, 7 earned runs on 21 hits, 4 walks to 18 strikeouts. However, like Tyler Rogers, Soto, opposing hitters hitting 288 off Soto. So you got one guy, opposing hitters hitting 280 off of him, but he has an ERA of 1.84. The other guy, an ERA of 3.78, and opposing hitters are batting 288 off of him. When he was on the Orioles this year, despite being 0-2 with a 3.96 ERA, opposing hitters were only hitting 216 off of Soto. He comes to the Mets, he forgets how to pitch. That's what that seems like. How do you have a guy, you trade for him before he gets here? Mind you, this guy is a former closer in several organizations. Opposing hitters batting 216 against him in Camden Yards. He puts on a Met uniform, steps in Citi Field, 288. 3.78 ERA. But this was a better. I don't like the move. You got him for next to nothing. For 2 single A ball players. But what was David Stearns thinking? Like, you got to understand, the back of a guy's baseball card, 9 times out of 10, will tell you who he is. And I say that to say this. Cedric Mullins. The Mets needed center field help at the deadline. Everybody thought Luis Robert was in the bag. Still crazy to me that the White Sox wanted a king's ransom for a player that they didn't want, who also doesn't want to be there, who's still under more team control. That's insane. But nonetheless, we can't change the past. Cedric Mullins, since becoming a Met, a 183 average, on-base percentage of 297, and 6 extra base hits and 93 at-bats. Somebody explain to me why David Stearns thought getting Cedric Mullins was going to be a good idea. Because when he was a Baltimore Oriole this season, he was batting .229. David Stearns made a trade deadline move to get a .229 hitter. Now, granted, Cedric Mullins, who's been in the league since 2018, lifetime as a .248 hitter. But he's having a down year this year. He went out and got a guy on a down year. Cedric Mullins has struggled. I mean, Cedric Mullins is a speedy guy. He's solid defensively. But did we really trade for a guy to put Tyrone Taylor on the bench only to have a left-handed version of Tyrone Taylor take his place? Because that's all that it is. Cedric Mullins might as well rename himself left-handed Tyrone Taylor. Putting up worse numbers than Taylor. Granted, Tyrone Taylor was never supposed to be the everyday center fielder. He only got that spot because his platoon mate in center field, Jose Siri, broke his tibia back in April. More on him later. And for the most part, the Mets went out and acquired a player who plays great defense in center field. I can never take that away from Cedric Mullins. But he's a speedy guy who can't hit. Defensive guy. Anything you get from him offensively is a plus. He gets an RBI. He gets a hit. It's just a plus on top of defense. Like we don't expect much out of Tyrone Taylor offensively. Just like I don't expect much out of Cedric Mullins offensively. And I hate to bash guys on my team, but I have to call it like I see it, folks. David Stearns did a poor job, a very poor job at the trade deadline. And now I know what people are going to say. Well, Alfred, in your trade deadline targets video, you said you wanted Ryan Helsley. I did. But I didn't expect Ryan Helsley to come here and become a shell of himself, to be an imposter. I'm starting to think this is a joke that's not funny anymore. Like, okay, Helsley, we get it. You're playing, like, come on. Where's the Helsley from St. Louis that was the lockdown closer? But I don't think I think him being traded and not being the guy to finish a game anymore has gotten to him. Because there's no earthly way. In the same season, mind you, you go from a 3 ERA with one team to over 11 with the new team. It's mind-boggling to me. Like I said, Rogers is okay. The ERA as a Met is 1.84. I just hate the fact that opposing batters are hitting 280 against him. Tyler Rogers might as well rename himself Daredevil because he likes to get himself into trouble to figure out a way to get out of trouble. And he magically just does it. Soto is who he is. Stearns knew it. We all knew it. Mullins, even worse. The day of the deadline, I went live right here on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch for the very first time in the history of this program. And I praised David Stearns for getting these four guys at the deadline. Hindsight's 20/20, and I only had to go off of what I had saw from them with their previous clubs up until that point in the season. But once again, David Stearns has egg on his face. Didn't do enough in spring training. Got the wrong guys at the deadline. Why you even targeted Cedric Mullins in the first place is beyond me. Got fleeced by Buster Posey. Because I guarantee you Tyler Rogers is going back to the Bay. Guarantee you. If I'm wrong, I'll admit I'm wrong. But guarantee that guy's not staying. And if he doesn't go back to the Bay, he's definitely not staying here past this season. And the thing when we lost Jose Buto and Drew Gilbert. Drew Gilbert, that's a lot. And you know what? I've had people comment in the comments on this show several weeks ago saying that Drew Gilbert was never going to play here because he was an Epler draft pick and not a Stearns draft pick. Some people said that, and I've always said it, prospects are like a box of chocolate. You never know what you're going to get till you got it. But the way Drew Gilbert has been playing in San Francisco, look at him. He's leading the charge. He's their most productive hitter. He's a rookie. Tennessee Vols legend, man. Shout out to my guy Bryson Carver.